We are Group 2, and this is our presentation on New York City taxi services. As you can see, this is our graphic for yellow cab pickup locations. And in terms of coverage, yellow cab services have a lot of coverage in downtown Manhattan, Brooklyn, Queens, as well as LaGuardia Airport and JFK Airport. When one looks at drop-offs as well, you can see that they're concentrated in Brooklyn, Queens, Manhattan, and some of the Bronx, while still spreading out to other areas outside of New York City. In contrast, we have the green cab service, which is completely excluded from downtown Manhattan. However, it is able to cover deeper areas of the Bronx, as well as certain areas of Brooklyn and Queens for pickup. However, for drop-off, they are allowed to drop once again in downtown Manhattan, as well as the Bronx and all other areas of Brooklyn and Queens, including JFK Airport. Next, for comparison, we have the Uber pickup service, which is driven by mobile application. Compared to both the yellow and green taxi services, they have far more expansive results for pickup and can pick up in downtown Manhattan, much of the Bronx, all of Brooklyn, and even more of Queens, giving them the greatest breadth in terms of coverage. When we compare the data for daily trip distance for yellow and green cabs, we can see that if this is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, that daily trip distance increases over time, peaking at Sunday for yellow cabs. However, as is for the case for green cabs, the distance actually peaks on Saturday and drops down to Sunday and drops down even further on Monday. We believe this is due to the fact that during the weekends, people will travel from the suburban areas to urban areas like Manhattan for leisure during this time, resulting in high trip distances. Next, we have the total number of trips comparison from July 2014 to September 2014. And as such, we can clearly see that yellow taxis dwarf all other forms of taxi transportation, setting the average at 500,000, generally speaking, even though green taxis barely average above that every single day of the week. As such, yellow taxis are by far and away the most common form of taxi service that one can use in New York City. Next, for comparison, we have a graph displaying the change in yellow cab hourly trips from September 2013 to September 2014. At the very top are the Uber and Lyft trips in Manhattan in September of 2014. And at the bottom is the change in daily yellow trips in the Manhattan core. Notice especially that the axis for this bottom graph is negative, indicating that for all the time that Uber and Lyft was operating, yellow cabs in Manhattan experienced a severe drop in services, peaking only once during 6 a.m. And as such, the graph on the bottom mirrors the graph on the top. In the bottom graph, we can see trip comparison by hour of the day, showing Uber, Lyft, and 8 other minor taxi services. The combined usage of Lyft and Uber far overshadows that of the 8 other taxi services, and in addition to that, we can see that during the times that Lyft is most active, Uber is slightly less active. However, at the times where Lyft is more active, such as 8 a.m., Uber becomes far more active. In essence, they are both complementing each other. In these graphs, we can see how from 2014 to 2013, the number of trips per day for yellow cabs dipped significantly due to the entrance of Uber in the taxi market. In addition, when we look at trips per day of comparison based by days of the week, we can see that Uber's number of trips was far greater than both that of the combined 8 other services as well as Lyft. again peaking during the weekend, especially Friday. We can also compare modes of payment for both yellow cabs and green cabs, showing that yellow cabs prefer to pay by card, whereas green cabs prefer to pay by cash. This is our cluster analysis, and as we can see, there are 4 different variables that we are measuring: tip amount, trip distance, passenger count, and fare amount. In cluster 4, we can see that they are the passengers that are most likely to travel the farthest distance, as well as tip the highest amount. In addition, these passengers are spread out for each time of the day: afternoon, morning, and night evenly, whereas other clusters tend to be one way or the other, with the exception of 2 and 6. In cluster 2, the passengers seem to be quite generous, showing that even though they have relatively smaller trip distances, they can tip just about as much as the customers in cluster 4.